it? Why didn't we, why didn't we get the car we wanted? Or, why am I not in a relationship
Because it was
yet?
red.
Yeah. Anyway.
Red car.
Anyway. Okay, so where do we put our awareness and for how long maps our destiny? The objective form to which we give our attention is created from the very attention we give it. The objective is but the reflection of the subjective state of our thought. Life is a blackboard. This is one of my favorite Ernest Holmes quotes. Life is a blackboard upon which we consciously or unconsciously write those messages which govern us. We hold the chalk and the eraser in our hand, but are ignorant of the fact. So, yeah, two brilliant men. Okay, and then this is more about the feeling. You have to fall in love with how you will feel later before you even have any proof that any of it will take place. That is surrender to live life in a way as if all your prayers have already been answered. So he does use the word prayer. Prayer is its own answer, said Ernest. Before our prayer is framed in words, the possibility of its answer already exists. And we know that when we treat, we give gratitude in advance because we know that what we desire already exists in the mind of good. Our treatments must have warmth, color, and conviction. So, Greg Braden says the same thing. They pray as if it's already happened. And the only way you really can do that is through gratitude, right? That's the big one. And I don't remember what this says. Greatness is holding fast to a dream independent of your environment. Kind of says the same as the other one. And then we always say we must prove that spiritual thought force is greater than material resistance. So I want you, I'm glad, I'm just right on time. I want you to see this other video. And it's an introductory video to Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself that he gave in a bookstore. And it's not very long. It's like 11 minutes, I think. But I think it's worth it to see it. So I'm going to have to go through that same thing again.
Talk amongst yourselves again. This would be the time if you wanted to get a little Java would be the time to do that, or go to the bathroom, or water, or... But you see, you give permission in the whole room. But that's true. This is the break. Rita, why don't you give them just 5 minutes and hold this.
Good evening. I want you to turn to the person next to you. I want you to look him in the eye and introduce yourself as a genius. Let's begin.
Are you letting it go?
Now, geniuses. So happy to be with you this evening. I have a few questions for you before we begin. How many people in this audience actually believe in the idea that the way you think has some effect on your life? That your thoughts create your life? You believe that, yes? So how many people here actually woke up this morning and consciously created a future? You know, the biggest reason why people don't do it is because you don't really believe it's true. You see, if you knew on a gut level that it was absolutely true, would you ever miss a day? Come on. And would you ever let any thought slip by your awareness that you didn't want to experience? So your brain, according to neuroscience, is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a record of your environment. It's a record, an artifact of your past. Yeah. So if you believe this, then does your environment control your thinking? Or does your thinking control your environment? So if you wake up in the morning and you get out of bed on the same exact side as you did the day before, you shut the alarm clock off with the same finger, you slip into your favorite slippers, you shuffle into the bathroom and you use the toilet like you always do, then you walk over to the mirror and you look at yourself to remember who you are, then you get into the shower and you wash yourself in the same routine way, Then you groom yourself to look like everybody expects you to look. And you go downstairs and you drink coffee out of your favorite mug.
Yeah.
Then you drive to work the same way as you did the day before. You see the same people that push the same emotional buttons. You do the exact thing that you know how to do and you memorize and can do so well that you're an expert at. Then you hurry up and rush home so you can hurry up and check your emails, so you can hurry up and go to bed, so you can hurry up and do it all over again. Now, here's my question. Did your brain change at all that day?
No.
We could say that you were thinking the same thoughts, performing the same actions, that create the same experiences, that produce the same emotions, but secretly expecting something to change in your life. Would you agree?
True.
So then, as the environment turns on different circuits in your brain, you begin to think equal to your environment. As you see the same people and go to the same places and do the same things at the same time, it's the external environment that's turning on different circuits in your brain, causing you to think equal to everything that you know. And as long as you think equal to everything that's familiar and known to you, what do you keep creating more of? Same life. Now, the quantum law is still applying to you. You're just thinking equal to everything that you know, and you keep creating more of the same. To change, to truly change, is to think greater than your environment. And every great person in history knew this. Whether it was William Wallace, or Mahatma Gandhi, or Martin Luther King, or Queen Elizabeth I, or Joan of Arc, they all had a vision. They all had an idea. Couldn't see it, couldn't smell it, couldn't taste it, couldn't feel it, but it was alive in their mind. It was so alive in their mind that they began to live as if that reality was actually happening now. So can you believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that your brain is literally changed to look like the event has already happened? Neuroscience says it's absolutely possible. Now, your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. It's that simple. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So the present personality who's sitting here today, you, has created the present personal reality called your life. Would you agree? Would you also agree then if you wanted to create a new personal reality, that on a fundamental level you would have to change the thoughts that you are thinking, the behaviors and habits that you're demonstrating, and the emotions that you've memorized that's become part of your identity? And most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it never works. We have to become somebody else. So then, as you keep thinking the same thoughts, performing the same actions, and living by the same experiences that produce the same emotions, there's a principle in neuroscience that says nerve cells that fire together wire together. And if you keep repeating the same states of mind and body over and over again, your brain begins to fire in the same sequences, in the same patterns, and same combinations. And whenever you make your brain work in a certain way, that's called mind. Mind is the brain in action. So as you remind yourself every day who you think you are, you're causing your brain to fire in the exact same ways. And as they fire and wire in the same patterns over time, the brain moves into a very finite signature, and that's called your personality. Now that box in your brain isn't literally a box, but it's the most commonly wired, neurologically fired programs that run redundantly because we keep doing the same things over and over again. To change your mind, then, is to make the brain work in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations, to begin to make the brain work differently. And the one ingredient that allows us to do that is knowledge or information. Because every time you learn something new, you make a new connection in your brain. That's what learning is. Learning is forging new connections. Remembering is maintaining or sustaining those connections. So now, every time you have a thought, you make a chemical. And if you have a great thought, or an unlimited thought, or a joyful thought, you turn on a set of circuits in your brain that fires in a very specific sequence, pattern, and combination that produces a level of mind that turns on another part of the brain that makes a chemical for you to begin to feel exactly the way you were just thinking. Great or unlimited or joyful. Now, if you have a negative thought or an unhappy thought or a self-depreciating thought, you turn on a different set of circuits and a different combination, a different sequence, and a different pattern that produces a different level of mind. And the brain then begins to make a different batch of chemicals that signals the body for you to begin to feel exactly the way you were just thinking. Negative or unhappy or unworthy. So the moment you begin to feel the way you think, because the brain is in constant communication with your body, you begin to think the way you feel, which makes more chemicals for you to feel the way you think, and then you think the way you feel, and then you feel the way you think, and then you think the way you feel. And some people do this for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Now, the redundancy of that cycle over time creates what I call a state of being. And a state of being is when your mind and body are working together, or your thoughts and feelings are aligned to a concept. So thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body. And as people get caught in this cycle of thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking, over time, they condition their body to memorize that emotion as well as the conscious mind. And whenever the body knows as well as the mind, that's called a habit. A habit is when your body is the mind. Now, 95% of who you are by the time you're 35 years old is a set of memorized behaviors, a set of emotional reactions, beliefs, perceptions, attitudes that run just like a computer program. So 5% of your conscious mind begins to work against 95% of what you've memorized. So the person wants to think positively, but they're feeling negatively. They want to create their dream board, and put up their future life, but they feel unworthy. That's mind and body in opposition. We have to recondition the body to a new mind. So how many people here know someone who's memorized suffering? Doesn't have to be you, it could be anybody. And you say to that person, hey, did you read the book I gave you? What do they say? No. Did you see the DVD I gave you? Oh, no. Hey, listen, we're going to go out to dinner. We're going to go see some stand-up comedy. We're going to go for a walk along the water. You want to come? No. What are they saying? I'm insisting on this neurochemical order that no person, no thing, no experience can move us from it. And we have these three brains to allow us to move into a new state of being. And the quantum field, universal mind, whatever you want to call it, responds to who you're being. Not what you're thinking, not what you're feeling, but the combination of how you're thinking and how you're feeling, called a state of being. Now, most people wait for what? Crisis or trauma or disease or loss or diagnosis to really want to change. They wait to the point where the ego is brought to such a low level that they cannot go on business as usual any longer. That's when we begin to look at how we're thinking or what we believe or how we act or our attitude or what emotions we're living by. And my message is, why wait? We can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering, which tends to be the human model, or we can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration. Now, you want to learn the hardest part about all of this. You ready? The hardest part of all of this. The hardest part of all of this is making the time to do it. That's it. That's it. Making time for your precious self.
I think it's okay.
That's where we were. Very good. Thoughts?
Actually, it's not. That's kind of AC.
Any clear thoughts on that?
I'm having a lot of recall watching my son when he became a quadriplegic, have to learn to live his life differently without the use of his hands and his legs. But he had the mind. And I would say to him, Larry, how are you doing this? He said, I'm thinking about it, Mom, and I'm making it happen because I can't live any other way, even in this body. Wow. That was his answer to me.
Wow. What a journey he had. What a special, amazing person. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
And a lot of it, what he did, what I got is mine from him.
Thank you. Love you. Thoughts? Nothing?
Everyone's stunned.
I know, stunned. Yeah, making the time, right? That was like my favorite thing when he said that. Make the time.
As he was talking about, is this on?
Is it on? Yeah. It might turn. Yeah.
As he was talking.
No, because you're on the other.
Rob said it was.
Yeah, just because. Now I hear it. Testing, yeah.
Sometimes I think it was the bottom.
When he was talking about how we create the habit of being ourselves, I thought, that's the same effort that you really need to put into making the habit of a new self.
Right.
Is, we do it the same way all the time, but, the thinking and the feeling and the thinking and the feeling, we have to put all of that into something new.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, as he was talking, I was thinking of one way to get out of your rut is to fall in love, because that really gets you out of yourself. But of course, it doesn't necessarily last that long. But that is a way to do things differently. You get up, you think different. I mean,
you need to read Bruce Lipton's book, The Honeymoon Effect, because he talks about that. Because you could create the honeymoon effect without falling in love with a person and getting into all that. But I know what you're saying. Right. Yeah, falling in love with yourself. Right. Thank you, Emma, for that. Yes?
That was it.
Adara. Yeah.
I wish I could remember who to attribute this to, but sometime in the last couple of weeks, I read about a female mystic who was enlightened, and she enlightened herself by using her thought feeling to greet everything that came in front of her with one thing, which was, thank you for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. And I've been practicing that, like even when the truck almost cuts me off. And it's fascinating to me that even like settling on one thought feeling pair like that and using it with everything could be such a freer. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, you're rewiring. So this was a question and answer that he did, and some of it's real fun. So the guy asks, why change if you like yourself? Well, there is no reason to change if you like yourself. However, if you want to continue to develop, or if you still have unfulfilled dreams, then you must change something in your mind and body in order to achieve all that you desire. And then, do you believe in the power of positive thinking, as many of your fellow countrymen do? And he says, I am far from being an advocate of positive thinking. He's far from being an advocate of positive thinking. There's no point, and he said this in the video, there's no point in thinking positively with 5% of our conscious mind when 95% of our conscious mind has committed to memory negative sentiments. So what do you think about that?
It's true.
It's true.
I've been thinking about what Sue said in regards to something else earlier that relates to that, which is why think about the things we don't want? Why not think about the things we do want? And a couple of days ago, I thought, I would like to only say positive things today. Well, it was the most interesting day and has been since then. I can't believe how many negative thoughts I think, and that come out of my mouth. I'm just appalled.
All right.
So having that consciousness, I don't think it matters if we're thinking of the positive or the negative. It's noticing that I have a pattern of complaining to myself,
That's what he's
if nothing
talking
else.
about.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
And yeah, I think, it's like spiritual bypassing. We call it spiritual bypassing. Everything's fine, it doesn't matter if I, have cancer. It's fine. I'll be all right. And you're spiritually bypassing everything and trying to be positive when, underneath you're just, that's what he's talking about. There's nothing wrong with thinking positively, but he's saying, let's make it real. If you're just walking around saying, I'm thinking positively, and that's all happening underneath, and you are conscious of it. So, did you want to say something? No. Yeah. Are our sentiments more powerful than our sentiments more powerful than our thoughts? Our thoughts affect the way we feel. For example, we think we will fail, so we feel insecure, which in turn leads us to further thoughts that preserve our insecurity. This is a cycle which creates the state of our being, and he talked about that too. Our personality is composed of the way we think, feel, and act. Yes.
Oh, I was just going to say about the positive thinking. Positive thinking is fine, but we need to get the positive emotion to go with it, right? And then that's where we need to be.
Right. It's like when we do affirmations in our science. If we get that other thought that comes up when we're doing the affirmation, that's the thing we need to address. Like if we're saying, oh, I'm rich, I'm abundant, and then, no, you're not, what, you're kind of crazy, you're a liar. That's the thing we have to address.
Fraud.
Right. The little devil with the things on the shoulders. But yeah, but if you ignored it, but yeah. Yeah, okay. How can we break loose from the vicious cycle of our personality? In order to change, we must first become aware of our unconscious self. It is what we in neuroscience call metacognition. Through meditation, we can achieve a combination of clear intentions and positive emotions to set ourselves free from the past and start building our future. When our inner world becomes more real than the outer world, we also begin to change biologically. So it's all happening in the mind. Like we say, it has to happen in the mind first. People around us won't think we have gone mad if we start living according to our inner world without reference to the outer world. Perhaps in the beginning you may seem somewhat foolish and crazy. However, when you attain your goals, they will believe you are a genius. So in other words, you're walking around, starting to live from your inner world of feeling rich. And in the meantime, you're living in a tent on the beach. And everybody's looking at you like you're crazy, but you're just sticking with it because you know that you want to move out of that tent on the beach and you want to be more of whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with living in a tent on the beach, but yeah, so I get it. Is your approach to change determined by the self-help spirit of our times? Okay. Throughout history, mystics and charismatic leaders have said the same things. Personally, I believe that science is the modern language of mysticism. Science decodes mysticism. Quantum physics, epigenetics, and neuropsychology reveal new capabilities and possibilities. Thoughts on this? Yeah? Agree? Do conventional scientists regard you with distrust? Well, some of them do. Anyone can say whatever he wants about me. However, I know one thing. I make a difference in people's lives. Good for you, Joe. Yep. With my team, which consists of empirical scientists and neuroscientists, we have achieved measurable results. Yeah, he's got a lot of people that think he's crazy. I was astounded when I went on the internet and saw the horrible things they said about him. And I'm like, yeah, but he's proving it. So what... you crazy guys. What measurable results? In my last book, I included brain scans showing that people became indeed better following my approach. And his books are filled with story after story after story. A most impressive story. Well, I read more impressive ones than this one even. A woman from Barcelona with partial paralysis and cancer of the esophagus who was completely healed by changing her personality. She had allowed herself to become ill from all the negative sentiments that followed her husband's suicide. However, through daily meditation, she managed to send her genes a signal to reverse the disease. And moreover, she now has a new husband. We receive all the time emails from people who have been healed. Yeah. I love his answers.
She's hardwired. Leave her alone.
What I love about these questions is this guy is arguing for his limitations so much. Now he's, aren't you afraid of being accused of selling false hopes to desperate people suffering from incurable diseases? I am not interested in selling hope, nor do I encourage people to discontinue their standard treatment. I am, however, interested to give them some tools to see whether they can whether they can delay the development of the disease or even heal it. Yeah, he doesn't sell hope. No, he's giving people tools. Do you make a lot of money working with people who are very ill? What kind of questions are these, right? If I wanted to be rich, I would not focus so much in trying to convince ordinary people that they don't need to wait to get sick in order to change. If I wanted to be rich, I would not focus so much in trying to convince ordinary people that they don't need to wait to get sick in order to change. Yes. Now this one I love. Can prayer produce the same results? Praying is great because it makes people specify their intentions and then surrender to a higher power. However, we don't pray so that our prayers are answered. We arise from the meditation as if all our prayers have already been answered.
Science of mind.
Spiritual mind treatment, right? There it is. I mean, what if I've gotten anything from this, what I really truly believe is that we just don't do it enough. We don't repeat the treatment over and over. We don't go back in over and over again because that's what he's saying. You got to just keep doing it. You got to make the time. You got to do the work if you want changes in your life. And if you don't, that's true anyway. How can we protect ourselves from gurus? I am not a guru. I am a normal person. And everyone I've met believes, even if they don't admit it, in their own greatness. And they have all, at some point, done something great in their life. They have taken the right decisions and have felt who they want to be. And at that point, they felt enthusiastic. Is this not a Greek word which includes God within you? So see, he creeps in all this, like, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on all this?
I actually have this what I was thinking. No. What I was thinking when he was going through these questions is, my famous one is, here we are again arguing for our limitation. I would love to see us meaning these questions and based on, let's try it. Let's try this. I thought that this morning. I thought, if we just said what, like in science, they start with the hypothesis that the already established fact, that it already is done. And then you go about living from that from that hypothesis. That's the same thing in deductive reasoning with God. If you start with the source of our life is this incredible thing called God or whatever you want to call it, and then you work everything from that point, then it would be very different. But it feels like we're inductive reasoning, which is trying to figure it all out before we get to God is all there is. And he made it really clear in the beginning how he healed was, I'm in a jam right now. And I'm in a big jam called my spine and everything. So the very thing that created me has got to still be here. And what if I woke up every morning really with that idea that very essence is working through me, and this is what we teach in Science of Mind, then how different our day would be. Mm-hmm. Because everything we came up against, supposedly against, it would be for. So everything that came up against, that looks like it's coming against me, I would go, oh, it can't be, because the very intelligence that runs through me and as them has come to serve me. Mm. So this is what I think that but I love that question. Do you make a lot of money?
I hope he does.
Happy trigger, just my little trigger, happy trigger went off again, because I'm like going, so you're going to stop the process of your healing because the guy might make a little money on his workshops or whatever he said. Yeah.
Right. So these are some of his books. I'm working on reading. I think, Rob, you're reading Evolve Your Brain, right? And we have a couple of them in the bookstore. Becoming Supernatural, it's on its way. It finally went into softback. He also has more film appearances than I thought, but I tried to find the films and I couldn't. I know Heal, we saw here, and there were a couple of others. But he also has a lot of CDs. I mean, if you go to his website, you can download his meditations and all kinds of things. So he's got a lot of information. If you go on YouTube, you can hear him talk. I mean, there's so many different YouTube interviews and all of that stuff. So much that's free, too. No, he wrote.
Breaking.
No, Evolve Your Brain was
yeah.
first. Oh, God, I think Placebo, then Breaking the Habit, or vice versa. And this is the last one. Yeah. I could actually tell you by looking in the book. I can't remember. It's not that big a deal. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you're the placebo, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Evolve Your Brain. Evolve Your Brain was first, then Breaking the Habit, then you are the placebo. Oh. Yeah, it's order from the top up. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. So well, anyway, let me keep going. Okay. This was a personal interview. I'm almost ready to stop. But I like this because, the man is constantly growing and he's not ready to stop yet. I mean, he's still seeing expansion and expansion and expansion. And he just did a big retreat in Cancun. I think it was the very end of last year. I'm not sure when it was. But they did an interview on him and they asked him what was next. He said, what are you going to do next? Because he's having all these healings and all kinds of things happening, and his retreats are getting deeper. And so he says, so where do we go from here? And he said, if we are healing people in real time, I'd love to see at least 50% of those people who were laying down, who were receiving healing, get up and experience a physical change in their health. When we get to that level of skill and ability, when it is that reproducible, I'd love to see our community of students work with the children's hospitals and bring children with cancer into our workshops and heal them. In their innocence, these children can't understand why they are sick, and neither can their parents. But children have a very thin veil between their conscious mind and subconscious mind. So I'd love for our students to heal those sweet children from cancer. But we have to be consistent and we have to be prepared. That's no longer studying history, it's making history. I think it's highly possible that we get so skilled at this that we begin to produce measurable changes to help people in all kinds of ways, and it doesn't even require touching them. He's talking about remote healing. So I think it's possible we become so skilled at creating order and coherence that we can reverse physical, mental, and emotional health conditions. I also think that by connecting to the field, when we change the field, we change matter. It's a skill, and I think that we will see more and more people having mystical experiences. We'll see more people healing during walking meditations. We'll see more people connecting to a future and creating a new future, and that these changes will become more miraculous, instantaneous in people's lives. So my vision is still the same. I just want to get really good at it, so good that we can begin to ask bigger questions or create even greater experiences. That's what he said. So he's still
bigger
growing.
questions.
I know, right? So it's really, it's pretty beautiful. I want to do that later. Okay, so science is the contemporary language of mysticism. So do we have any last thoughts? Because I'm going to do a treatment and I'm going to do a little blessing that he has when I do the treatment. So do you have any further questions as we close out?
I have a good friend, Reverend Sarah Nichols, who's at CSL Davis, and she's a huge proponent of Joe Dispenza. And the way she writes about him is that he is showing the science behind our faith. He's showing why science of mind works and how it works, for a whole. And, she says, I don't get anything from this, but you got to take his retreats. You got to do this stuff because it's an amazing booster for being grounded in this faith because you actually see it quickly happen.
Right.
Yeah.
I think when Ernest Holmes was alive and writing toward the end of his life, he said, if you're still reading this book 100 years from now and just this is all you're doing, we're open at the top. We're ready for more information, for more ways of using it. It's exactly what we teach, but he's giving us different tools, like speaking in a different language that's allowing, and I know, there's nothing about it that's contrary to what we do. I mean, nothing that I can see. I haven't gone to a retreat yet, and I will. But, I mean, from what I'm listening to and all I read and everything, I'm going, oh, my God. And I'm so grateful that that, yeah, I'm grateful. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that last bit that you read really strengthened my faith and belief in distance healing. I've been taught to do it, but it's kind of, now I can grasp it stronger for sure. Thanks.
Yeah, well, we believe in remote healing because there's a field and we're all connected and it's one mind, right? And we don't have to put our hands on somebody.
But you're feeling, but what Joe said, but it's interesting for me, what I've got out of this whole evening, Rita, is that it's not going to do us any good if we just stay in theory. I mean, we can stay in theory for a long time, and it's fabulous, and might even give us some warm fuzzies now and then. But at the end of the day, when we say work, it's not work like sweating work. It's like it has to be important enough for us that we do this life-changing and prove to ourselves that this all works. The remote is interesting because Ernest Holmes has a story of him working with somebody who had was dealing with alcohol, and he went into another room next to him because he didn't want to see his condition, not because he was, I don't want to see it, It was like, I got work to do. You're already in your condition. I'm going over here and go into the quantum field. I'm going to do the work, and the guy was, healed or whatever, so.
And Diane's right. This is just giving us, he's able to go measure the things that we teach. He's able to go measure them. And I think, Ernest Holmes said, treat till you demonstrate. And like I said, I'm going to go back to it. I just think we give up too easily on all of this. We just give up. And like he said in that interview, he said, you're going to have to make the time. That's the hardest thing. You're going to have to make the time. And that's really the message of all this, is that if you care enough about it, like you said, if it's important enough to you, whatever it is that you want to develop in your life or in your journey here on earth, that you can do it. You can do it. You have that greatness within you, that divine power within you. And you know what he said, Ruth? All the people that live to be over 100 learn something new all the time. And that's you. No, not yet. But there is something about learning something new, like learning something new, taking new things and learning something new. It's just a beautiful thing.
I was just thinking of this making time. Yeah. I was just thinking, think how much time we will have if we just made the time because of how much time we're spending on this supposed condition that we're trying to get over. Just think if we spent that little time, really, actually, how much time we would have left after we healed whatever part of that ourselves.
Anyway, any more thoughts, or I'm going to close out? All right. So I'm going to start my treatment with just this blessing that he gives at the end of some of his meditations. So let's just take a deep breath. And settle yourself in the chair and I invite you to close your eyes if it feels comfortable. And take your left hand and place it over your heart. And just breathe into your heart space. And just bless your body, that it be lifted to a new mind. Bless your life, that it be an extension of your mind. Bless yourself to see the hidden meaning behind all things. Bless your soul, that it wake up from this dream. Bless the divine in you, that it moves in you, that it moves through you, and that it moves all around you, that it shows cause in your life. And finally, I want you to give thanks for a new life before it's made manifest, so that your body, as the unconscious mind, begins to experience that future now. For the emotional signature of gratitude means the event has already happened. For gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. So let's just take a deep breath and move into that feeling of gratitude. That amazing energy that we are all capable of feeling. For just being alive, for just being on this island, for just being the amazing divine presence that we are. So as I move into that place of gratitude right here and right now for my life, and the recognition that that divine intelligence and that power and that energy and that source is who I am so grateful. And I am grateful to know that that same presence, that energy, that source is each and every person here. And beyond, every star in the sky, every wave in the ocean. That beautiful energy is moving through it. And it's all for our good at all times. The universe moves for us at all times for us. So I take this evening and I give gratitude for it. I give gratitude for Dr. Joe Dispenza and his work and all the other great mystics and scientists who are assisting this planet to move to its next incarnation of love and peace and health and prosperity and all that is good. And I know that each and every person in this room has that same capability, that we are all geniuses, as Dr. Joe would say. We are all geniuses because we are all manifestations of that infinite intelligence. So I am grateful for this time that we've had together, for this beautiful evening. And I know and claim that as we go from here, we have the opportunity to take this and use it in our lives if it feels good, and use it uniquely for ourselves, for our betterment, and for the betterment of the whole. And we have made a difference tonight. So with that gratitude in my heart, I simply take this word I have spoken, knowing it is law, and I just release it, I let it go, and I know it is so, as we affirm together. And so it is.